When we drive, we must rely on our physical ability and our eyes. What we see is important to our reaction and our ability to respond. Therefore, the eyes have it.
Drivers depend on 3 things when driving: visual skills, using your eyes; thinking skills, brain or cognitive processes; motor skills, the physical ability to drive and control the car. When driving, we use our eyes to receive information relevant to our driving task. This information is received through our central vision and our peripheral vision, as well as what we view in our rear and side mirrors. Central vision is the ability to see straight ahead and directly in front of you. Peripheral vision is the ability to see sideways or the surrounding outer area without having to actually turn your head to look. Peripheral vision is affected by speed. The faster you travel, the less peripheral vision you have. When we drive, we need to be aware of what is ahead as well as what is to our side and rear. This may be accomplished by frequently checking the rear view mirror and the side mirrors. When driving, use the See-It method. See-It stands for search, evaluate, execute, in time. Visually search by using your eyes to scan the road ahead well ahead of your path of travel. 12 to 15 seconds in city driving. 30 to 40 seconds for highway driving. When approaching an intersection, look left, ahead, right, and left again. As you scan, look for other roadway users: cars, trucks, motorcycles, bicyclists, pedestrians, especially children, and animals. Evaluate, using your brain or cognitive process. This is where drivers use the information provided by their eyes to consider potential problems or hazards and to develop a plan of action. Evaluating is to get the best results while predicting the worst possible outcome. Execute, the physical reaction to avoid a dangerous situation or hazard. Decisions are executed in 3 ways. Communication. Communication between roadway users is usually initiated through the use of lights or horns, as well as eye contact or other body language. Note that communication is the most passive of all the possible actions that you can take, since it depends entirely on the response of someone else. Use any of these methods to communicate with or attract the attention of other motorists, but don't rely on the actions of others, their response, to ensure your safety. Adjust speed. Accelerate or slow to avoid a hazard, or, if conditions allow, come to a complete stop. Adjust position. Change your lane position or change direction. Checking the blind spot. When changing lanes or passing another vehicle, Look ahead. Check the rear view mirror. Check the appropriate side mirror. And check the appropriate blind spot. Check a blind spot by quickly turning your head to the left or right to see if another vehicle is in your lane. If you are not sure, make a second, third, or fourth check if necessary. See at night. The condition of overdriving your headlights means that you cannot stop for an object soon enough if you see it in your headlight. Look beyond the headlights and let the lights pick up your field of vision. In time. The key to the C method is to be able to recognize hazards, make a decision on what to do, and to carry out the decision in time. In order to survive the crossroads, you first have to see it. Search, evaluate, execute in time.
As we drive, we must also be aware of road signs, signals, and markings. We must know the code of the road.
Surviving the crossroads takes more than just skill in handling or driving a car. Drivers must have knowledge of the rules and laws that assist us in sharing the roadway with other drivers. In other words, we must know the code of the road. Part of the code comes in a variety of shapes and colors in the form of road signs. Regulatory are red or white. Warning are yellow or fluorescent green. Guide signs are green. Service signs are blue. Recreation signs are brown. And construction or maintenance signs are orange. Regulatory signs limit or prohibit movement. These signs provide requirements that must be followed to allow traffic flow. Some examples of regulatory signs are stop signs, yield signs, do not enter, wrong way, prohibitive signs that have a red circle with a diagonal slash, directional signs, and speed limit signs. When coming to a stop sign, come to a full and complete stop. Hold that stop for 3 seconds while scanning the intersection for other vehicles. Yield signs. You do not have to come to a complete stop, but drivers should slow down, scan the intersection for oncoming traffic, and yield to oncoming vehicles. Warning signs. The most common shape is a diamond shape and warns drivers of road conditions or dangers ahead. Other types of warning signs are the circular or round sign that is an advanced warning of a railroad crossing. A 5-sided or pentagon-shaped warning sign designates a school zone or school crossing. Be sure to observe the speed limit signs for lower speed limits in the school crossing. Pennant-shaped. This designates a no passing zone. The chevron alignment sign. This helps drivers navigate long or tight curves. Object markers. These will designate narrow bridges or parts of the roadway where hazards could be found. Guide signs. These green signs provide information relating to interstate exits or types of highways being traveled. They can also point out locations of airports, bus terminals, or train stations. Blue service signs point out areas of driver interest such as telephones, disability access, hospitals, food, fuel, or lodging. The brown recreation signs designate campgrounds, playgrounds, bike trails, parks, or any other points of interest to the driver. Orange construction signs. These designate areas where highway work is present. Be alert for barrels, lane shifts, and construction workers or highway workers. Also be alert for flaggers who are directing traffic to help you safely get through the construction zone. The next emblem is on the move. This is the slow-moving vehicle emblem. Vehicles that display this have a top speed of 25 miles per hour. Most commonly, these are found on farm vehicles, horse carriages, or any vehicle with a top speed of 25 miles per hour or less. Speed limit signs. These signs designate the maximum speed limit under normal conditions. There may also be minimum speed limit signs in which drivers must drive at least that minimum speed. Resist the urge to travel with the flow of traffic if it is faster than the speed limit. Sometimes this is called the common speed. The only time it is permissible to do the common speed is if it is at the speed limit or slower. There is also the basic speed law. If conditions such as fog, rain, snow, or ice cause drivers to drive slower, so should you. You do not want to receive a ticket for driving too fast to avoid a collision or driving unsafe for conditions. Another part of the code is traffic signals. These are red, yellow, and green. The first of these is a steady red. When the light is red, drivers must come to a full and complete stop. If you are already in the intersection, you may complete a turn if oncoming traffic has stopped. The steady red also means your right-of-way has been canceled. Flashing red. This is equivalent to a stop sign. Drivers must make a full and complete stop. Green light. The green light states that the driver now may proceed through the intersection with the right-of-way if it is clear of traffic and pedestrians. Do not accelerate as soon as the light turns green. Look left, ahead, and right to determine that there is no traffic trying to beat the light from the other direction. The yellow light. This light states that your right-of-way is about to be canceled. Clear the intersection. If you are 2 seconds or closer to the intersection, you are at the point of no return. Continue on. Do not accelerate to get through the intersection. If you are in the middle of an intersection and making a left turn, you may complete your turn once oncoming traffic has come to a stop. Flashing yellow. The flashing yellow requires us to slow down and use caution. Cross traffic is required to yield the right-of-way. However, watch for vehicles or pedestrians attempting to cross the intersection. If all traffic signals are out and not working, treat the intersection as an all-way stop. Arrows. A green arrow, in conjunction with a red or green signal, means the driver has the right-of-way to make the turn in the direction of the arrow, as long as the intersection is clear. A yellow arrow, displayed in conjunction with a red or green signal, means the right-of-way is about to end. A red arrow is the equivalent of a red light, and the driver must stop. Overhead lane markings. A green arrow means use that lane. A red X means do not use that lane. A yellow X means that the lane is about to go red. Use caution. Pedestrian signals. Walk signs or a symbol of a person walking permits a person to legally cross the intersection. Don't walk signs or a symbol of a raised hand means that it is no longer legally permitted to begin crossing an intersection. This hand will begin to flash just before the traffic light goes to yellow. Railroad crossings. Railroad crossings are designated by the round yellow advanced warning sign and a crossbuck, or a round yellow sign, crossbuck, and stop sign. There may also be a crossbuck with flashing red lights, or a crossbuck with flashing red lights and a gate arm. Traffic control officer. A police officer overrides traffic signals or signs. The police officer's signals must be obeyed. The last part of the code is roadway markings. Broken white lines separate multiple lanes going in the same directions. These also allow drivers to change lanes. Solid white lines mark the right edge of the travel portion of the lane. They also mark special lanes such as high occupancy, turn lanes, and merging lanes. Drivers should not cross solid white lines. Broken yellow lines separate traffic going in opposite directions and mark the left edge of the travel lane. Solid yellow lines separate lanes of traffic going in opposite directions and mark the left edge of the travel portion of the road. Solid yellow lines also designate areas where passing is illegal. At intersections, white lines designate stop lines. This is where drivers should stop before entering the intersection. There are also pedestrian crosswalks. Be especially alert for pedestrians preparing to cross the intersection. Drivers should also be aware of special lanes designated for bicycle use. Markers or reflectors. These help guide your path at night or in adverse conditions. White reflectors mark white lines. Yellow reflectors mark yellow lines. Blue reflectors designate the location of a fire hydrant. Rumble strips. These raised portions of the roadway tell drivers to slow down. They are approaching either a dangerous intersection or a toll booth. The red, white, and blue signs designate interstates. If the last numeral of the interstate is even, that designates east or west. If the last numeral is odd, that tells you you are traveling north or south on the interstate. Paying attention to the signs, signals, and markings along the roadway will help you better to understand the code of the road.
Knowing the signs, signals, and markings is part of being a safe driver. Knowing the right-of-way laws is also a key component of a safe driver, as we see in the following video, Is It My Turn?
Surviving the crossroads involves being able to understand the rules and regulations of negotiating intersections and understanding the right-of-way laws. This is definitely time to be a defensive driver. Knowing your intersections and right-of-way procedures will help in your survival techniques in surviving the crossroads. Intersections and right-of-way. Intersections. There are two basic types of intersections. Unregulated or uncontrolled intersection. This type of intersection does not have any type of traffic controls. There are no yield signs, stop signs, or traffic signals. And regulated or controlled. This type of intersection will have a yield sign, stop sign, or traffic control signal. Yielding the right-of-way. Failure to yield the right-of-way is a primary factor associated with collisions. When two vehicles approach an intersection at the same time and at a right angle, who has the right-of-way? No one. No, this is not a trick question. In the Indiana Code or law, the right-of-way is only given to two situations which state the word has the right-of-way. A funeral procession has the right-of-way. A marching band procession has the right-of-way. Indiana law. The rest of the motoring public is regulated by Indiana Code 9-21-8-29. Except when approaching through highways and areas in which signs are posted giving other instructions. When two vehicles approach or enter an intersection from different highways at approximately the same time, the person who drives the vehicle on the left shall yield the right-of-way to the vehicle on the right. If more than two vehicles approach at the same time, there must be a spirit of cooperation and communication amongst the drivers in order to safely clear the intersection. Let's look at some examples of unregulated intersections. Emergency vehicle, stationary recovery vehicle, and stationary highway maintenance vehicle. Upon the immediate approach of an authorized emergency vehicle, giving an audible signal by siren or displaying alternately flashing red, red and white, or red and blue lights, a driver must do the following unless otherwise directed by a law enforcement officer. Yield the right-of-way. Immediately drive to a position parallel to and as close as possible to the right-hand edge or curb of the highway, clear of any intersection. Stop and remain in the position until the authorized emergency vehicle has passed. Stationary emergency vehicle or recovery vehicle. Proceed with due caution. Yield the right-of-way by making a lane change into a lane not adjacent to that of the stationary vehicle, if possible, with due regard to safety and traffic conditions. If on a highway, at least 4 lanes with no less than 2 lanes proceeding in the same direction as the approaching vehicle, or proceed with due caution. Reduce the speed of the vehicle, maintaining a safe speed for road conditions if changing lanes would be impossible or unsafe. Other situations which call for an Indiana motorist to yield the right of way. Other situations for yielding the right of way. Pedestrians. Oncoming traffic. When making a left turn, remember to keep your wheels pointed straight until you are ready to turn. Also, yield the right of way to emergency vehicles, funeral processions, marching bands, flashing blue lights, volunteer firemen in private vehicle, flashing green lights, certified emergency medical technician in private vehicle. Roundabouts. A roundabout is a circular intersection that is designed to meet the needs of all road users. A roundabout eliminates some of the conflict traffic, such as left turns, that cause crashes at traditional intersections. Collisions that do occur are less severe than those at conventional intersections because roundabout traffic enter or exits only through right turns. When approaching a roundabout, decide which lane you need to be in before entering the roundabout. If you are exiting the roundabout less than halfway around, use the right lane. The roundabout's incoming traffic should yield to the circulating traffic. Do not stop within the roundabout except to avoid a potential collision. Always signal your intentions when exiting the roundabout. Knowing the types of intersections and the right-of-way laws will increase your abilities to survive the crossroads.
Signaling your intention to turn. Give a proper turn signal at least 200 feet before turning or changing lanes. If the speed limit is 50 miles per hour or more, give a proper turn signal at least 300 feet before turning or changing lanes. Since there are no markings along the side of the road to determine how far 200 or 300 feet is, there is an easy calculation. Remembering how far a car will travel in 1.5 seconds times the speed, if you use your turn signal for at least 4 seconds, that should help you remember the turn signal distance as well as communicating your intentions to other drivers on the road. Example, at 45 miles per hour, a car travels approximately 67 feet in 1.5 seconds. That's 4 times 67 equals 268 feet. At 50 miles per hour, 75 feet in 1.5 seconds, that's 4 times 75 equals 300 feet. Turning at intersections may present hazardous situations. The safe driver asks, "Can I go now?"
Approximately 40% of crashes are intersection related. Recognition and decision errors accounted for 85% of these crashes. Using the C method, C, evaluate, execute, will help you to safely navigate through busy and complicated intersections. C, the number of lanes in your direction of travel? Is there a left turn lane? Does the traffic light have turn arrows? See the traffic light. Is the light green? Is it about to go yellow? Is it red? Evaluate. If you are turning left or right, are you in the appropriate lane? Are there other vehicles ahead of you? Are other vehicles turning or going straight? Are there bicyclists or pedestrians present? Can you execute the turn safely? Executing a right turn with a green light. Slow to appropriate turn speed. Check for any vehicles making a left turn that may come in to your lane. Yield to pedestrians. Turn into the nearest through lane of traffic. Executing a right turn on red with no turn arrows. Come to a full and complete stop. Check for a no turn on red sign. If there is not a no turn on red sign, check for oncoming traffic. If cars are present, the safest way to complete the turn is to wait. Other vehicles may speed up or change lanes before you complete your turn. Executing a right turn with left turn arrows. Some intersections have turn lanes with left turn arrows. Recognizing the cycle of the lights will help you make a safe right turn. If a traffic signal has a 4 or 5 light configuration, there is a turn arrow present. After coming to a stop and checking for pedestrians, check the traffic light for a turn arrow for left-right traffic. If the left turn arrow is present, you should be able to execute a turn as traffic is turning, giving you a clear path to execute your turn. If oncoming traffic has a left turn arrow, it is still considered oncoming traffic. Hold the execution of your turn until this traffic lane has cleared. Traffic could go into your turn lane, causing a turn conflict. It is safest to wait until traffic has cleared. Executing a right turn with a right turn arrow. Some intersections may have a right turn green arrow. Turning traffic does not have to stop when turning. However, still be alert for pedestrians and any other drivers who may not be paying attention. Executing a left turn at an intersection can pose some challenging situations. If there is not a turn lane or turn arrow, you must yield to oncoming traffic. If you are the first vehicle in the intersection and oncoming traffic is present, you may proceed about 1/3 of the way into the intersection. Remember to yield to oncoming vehicles. These vehicles may have a right or left turn signal displayed, and they may or may not turn and proceed straight ahead. They may not have a turn signal displayed and may turn anyway. Be prepared to anticipate these unusual maneuvers. If you are the first car turning at the intersection, do not let other cars behind you intimidate you by honking or any other means into making an unsafe turn. You are what is known as the sacrificial lamb. Be patient. Do not turn until you know it is safe. If the light turns yellow or even red and the oncoming traffic has stopped, you may complete your turn. If you are not the first car turning, do not follow the vehicle ahead until you check the light ahead and for oncoming traffic. If the vehicle ahead is large, avoid entering the intersection until you have clear visibility. If there is a left turn arrow, you may proceed in the direction of the arrow. Some intersections may state left on arrow only. Others may have an arrow with a sign yield on green to oncoming traffic. Again, if you are not the first car, pay attention to the color of the light. If the green arrow goes yellow, do not enter the intersection. Wait for the next arrow for a turn on arrow only, or wait until traffic is clear to make your turn if it is legal to do so. Executing a turn with two turning lanes. Some intersections have two turn lanes. These may be either right or left turning lanes. Two lanes turning right. Numerous intersections have two lanes for vehicles turning right. This is especially common for off-ramps leaving the interstate. If there is a signal at the light and the light is red, the turns are legal from dual lanes only when it is safe for the drivers to progress. That is, there is no oncoming traffic. Also, with the dual turn lanes, drivers should stay in their lane throughout the turn. Two lanes turning left. The left turning lane will have a dashed yellow line, while the right lane turning left will have a dashed white line. If you are in the left turn lane, do not swing wide into the other lane. If you are in the right turn lane, making a left turn, do not pinch down into the left lane. Stay in your lane. When approaching an intersection, in order to make a right or left turn, use the C method. See the number of turning lanes ahead of time in order to be in the appropriate turning lane. Evaluate the color of the lights, traffic, and pedestrians. Execute your turn when legal and safe. Using the C method, you will be able to determine, can I go now?
Intersections and turning, mixed with traffic, pedestrians, bicycles, and parked vehicles, present a different set of challenges. The next video will help you in addressing surviving the city.
Driving in the city takes patience and a steady hand. There are more vehicles, intersections, traffic controls, and pedestrians. With this in mind, drivers must be able to navigate through potential hazards while not only being aware of what is in front, but the rear and sides as well. Knowing signs, signals, and roadway markings are just the beginning for a good defensive driver. Since 70% of collisions are due to driver error, a good defensive driver must look out not only for the actions of other drivers, but the unanticipated actions of other drivers. Drivers must be constantly looking for the mistakes other drivers may make and be prepared to react accordingly. With all the information a driver has to process, other motorists, pedestrians, and traffic signals, drivers must process an ever-changing scene. There are many opportunities for a driver to be distracted. Paying attention to the driving task and understanding right-of-way laws, turning techniques, and intersection will further a driver's knowledge in order to survive the crossroads. In order to further develop survival skills, drivers should use an orderly visual search pattern. Scanning left, straight, right, straight, and left. Look 1 to 2 city blocks ahead, or 12 to 15 seconds ahead of your car. Or look ahead as far as you can see. Your vision may be obstructed by a larger vehicle. Some common things to look for: buses or taxi cabs pulling away from the curb lane. Delivery vehicles may be double parked and blocking your lane. Pedestrians may step out and cross in the middle of the block, not necessarily at the crosswalks. Be aware of bicyclists using special lanes designated for bicycles only. By looking far enough ahead, you may observe construction where a lane may be closed, affecting your path of travel. Lane changes. Remembering that there is approximately a 1.5 second reaction time, by signaling, we communicate our intention to other drivers, giving them a chance to react to our maneuvers. By leaving the turn signal on for 4 seconds, this gives the driver an opportunity to check a rearview mirror, the appropriate side mirror, and the blind spot to make sure that drivers are not in the lane next to you before you change lanes. When checking a blind spot, if you can see pavement in front of the car in the lane next to you, you have enough time to make the appropriate lane change. Do not cut off another driver, decreasing his or her reaction time. Turning techniques. Right turn. Make the approach for a right turn, and a right turn as close as practical to the right-hand curb or edge of the roadway. Don't forget to signal. An easy way to remember this is if you are in the curb lane, make your turn into the curb lane. Left turn. Make an approach for a left turn in that part of the right half of the roadway nearest the center line of the roadway. Again, don't forget to signal. The way to remember this is the yellow line is the center line. You will make your turn from the center line to the center line. Right turns on red. A right turn on red is permitted after coming to a full and complete stop. Determine that there is not a no turn on red sign. Drivers must also yield to any pedestrians or vehicles who may be in the intersection. Some intersections may have a right turn arrow allowing you to make the turn without stopping. However, the vehicle and pedestrian rules still apply. Left turns on red may be made from a one-way street onto a one-way street. Drivers must still come to a full and complete stop, check for the no turn on red sign, pedestrians, or any vehicles that may be in the intersection. A left turn on red is also permitted with a green arrow. The driver need not stop, but must make sure there are no vehicles in the intersection or there are no pedestrians present. Following distance. The Indiana Driver's Manual currently states that a good rule to follow is for drivers to follow at least 2 to 3 seconds behind the vehicle ahead. However, it is recommended that 3-second following distance is preferred. When following another vehicle, wait for the vehicle to pass a fixed object and estimate how much time elapses before your vehicle passes the same object. Again, do not confuse following distance with stopping distance. When stopping behind another vehicle, stop at a point where you can see pavement in front of the rear tires. If you are hit from the rear, you should have enough space cushion not to hit the vehicle ahead of you. When making a left turn, keep your wheels pointed straight ahead. If you are already starting to turn left and you are struck from behind, you could be knocked into oncoming traffic. Tailgaters. If a car is too close to you, resist the tendency to to give a brake check. A safer solution is to slow down, allow that driver to pass. If that does not solve the problem, pull into a safe area or change directions. Center turn lane. On roads where there are many places a vehicle may make a left turn, there may be a lane designated solely for this purpose. These lanes are for deceleration and turning only. They are not designated passing lanes. The nickname for this lane is the suicide lane, when two vehicles may move into the same lane to make a left turn at the same time. Roundabouts. A different type of intersection. A roundabout is a circular intersection that is designed to meet the needs of all roadway users. Because roundabout traffic enters or exits only through right turns, collisions that do occur typically are less severe than those at conventional intersections. When approaching a roundabout, decide which lane you need to be in before entering the roundabout. If you are exiting the roundabout less than halfway around, use the right lane. The roundabout's incoming traffic should yield to the circulating traffic. Do not stop within the roundabout except to avoid a potential collision. Always signal your intentions when exiting. Special yielding situations. Emergency vehicles. Emergency vehicles approaching with flashing lights and/or sirens, the driver must pull to the right and stop and yield the right of way. Knowing the challenges of driving in the city and being prepared in advance with your survival skills, you will have the necessary tools for surviving the city.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Ryan's Brain. Thank you to everybody who's liked, shared, commented on, and otherwise interacted with our last week's video, How to Ask a Celebrity to the Prom and Get the Yes. This week, we have a special guest appearance from my sister, Jessica.
You know, I really don't want to ask a celebrity.
Okay, but that's
Number
not...
one, the economic difference between our lifestyles is something
She's trying to delay the inevitable. This week, we're doing something a little different. We're going to help her prepare for her driving test.
You seriously don't have to do that.
Hey, I've taken the test 5 times. If I don't know what I'm talking about by now, I shouldn't be driving.
Please tell him to stop.
This isn't live.
Oh, Tommy, come out here. This is Tommy, our top-notch tech guy. He usually likes to stay behind the camera, but this week I wanted to give him a special shout out because he's produced some fantastic visual aids for this segment. Give yourself a round of applause, Tommy.
Hi, Tommy.
Hi, Jessica.
They actually have a thing for each other, they just refuse to acknowledge it.
Ryan!
Hey!
What?
I'm gonna make you look so bad in the editing.
Just pick up the light.
Boys.
Let's dive in. This week, we're going to teach Jessica how to drive safely near railroad crossings. Tommy made this out of foam core.
Really?
Each one took an hour and a half.
He made 7 of them. What is this and what does it mean?
That's an advanced warning sign. It warns drivers that the road they're currently driving on crosses a railroad track ahead. So if you see the sign, you should slow down, look, and listen for an oncoming train.
Good. An hour and a half, man, and it's on screen for 5 seconds.
That's show business. What's this top one mean?
That's a crossbuck. It tells a driver that they have arrived at a railroad crossing and that they must yield to trains.
And the one below it?
That's a yield sign. You treat it just like any other yield sign you'd see elsewhere on the road. It's a reminder that you must yield to an approaching train.
What about now?
A crossbuck with a stop sign. It tells the driver that they must always stop at a stop sign in advance to the railroad tracks. Even if they do not see or hear the train, they must stop.
Yes!
And some crossings have a red and white gate that drops down.
They do. In fact, Tommy's made a virtual reality.
Augmented reality.
Augmented reality thing. As soon as you put those on, you should be able to see.
Whoa.
You should see an X with 2 R's on either side painted on the pavement, followed by a painted stop line. If it's a gravel road, you should stop at least 15 feet from the tracks. You'll also see some lights under the crossbuck. Those flashing red lights warn drivers of an approaching train. Even if you can't see a train, if the lights are flashing and the bells are ringing, that means one is on its way. If there's gates at the crossing, then those will also lower at that time. Only cross the tracks once the lights stop flashing and the bells stop ringing, and the gates go all the way up. Never drive around a lowered gate or across the track while the lights are flashing and the bells are ringing.
Why is there a dragon?
Why is there a dragon, Tommy?
The dragon's there to remind you that there might be another train coming from a different direction.
It's true. He's holding a sign that says, beware.
This is ridiculous.
I've made 7 foam core signs and worked till 3 in the morning. Let me have my dragon. Even if you see a train pass and you think it's safe to cross, you have to be careful so you don't get hit by a second train, which could be coming from either direction. Always assume that there are multiple tracks and check to make sure that there are no additional trains before crossing the tracks. Not all crossings have bells, lights, or gates to warn you of an approaching train.
To be safe, always expect a train.
Look for a train, listen for a train horn. If it's clear, proceed. If you see or hear any signs of a train, wait. Once a train is passed, look in both directions again and listen for a horn from another train. If all is clear, proceed across the tracks.
So, sometimes there are other cars crossing the tracks when we are in Mom's car. What happens if they stop and don't leave enough room for our car to completely clear the tracks?
Hang on. I wrote a program for everything we're talking about today, just in case.
That is so cool.
You should only go across the tracks if you can completely clear the crossing. Just remember this saying, if you don't fit, don't commit. And for the next few signs, we're gonna take a field trip. This is Jessica's room.
No, that's an emergency notification system sign.
And what does that tell you?
It tells me the number to call if there's an emergency at the railroad crossing. So if a car were to get stuck on the tracks.
If there's an emergency, call the phone number to alert the railroad of your issue. Then tell them the crossing number on the sign so they can identify your location.
Obviously, this sign has something to do with the train horn. Does it mean the trains don't use their horns at this crossing?
Weren't you supposed to have this picked up by the time I got home?
I was helping Ryan with his video.
Oh, I love it when he volunteers to do everyone's laundry for a week.
Oh, come on, I was helping her study for a driver's test.
Is that why there's this no train horn sign on the wall?
I was quizzing her.
Oh, okay, well, that's nice. I guess you don't have to do everyone's laundry. So, Jessica, what does this sign mean?
It means that the crossing is a quiet zone, and that trains won't normally use the horn. An engineer can sound the horn in an emergency, but it's usually quiet.
Excellent. When the pizza's getting cold.
There's pizza?
But we have 2 more signs left.
The 3 tracks part of the sign means that the driver will be going over 3 sets of tracks at the railroad crossing.
You got it. Last one.
I would have said we should have gotten augmented reality, but it's in the other room, and there's pizza, so...
I have no idea.
The parallel track sign identifies highway rail intersections that appear immediately after you take a right or left turn.
Got it. That makes sense. I think I have them all memorized now.
You know what that means?
No, what? Why are we in the car?
To illustrate that distractions on the road can make you 4 times more likely to get in a collision which involves an injury. Tommy's already recording this part on his cell phone, which he shouldn't be if we're in the car.
Phones lead to texting. Texting leads to surfing the web.
Surfing the web leads to...
Looking for music, talking to people on the phone, and talking to your passengers. Yeah. Mom talks about this all the time.
And she's right. You need to avoid driving while tired or on medication. Never eat or put on makeup or zone out while driving. Trust me, I didn't realize until I started driving myself how distracting those things can be.
I'm leaving.
Which is exactly what you should do if your friends are practicing on safe driving habits.
We haven't talked about light rail yet.
I have an animation for that.
Well, hang on. We gotta do the soda can thing first. Trains are much larger and heavier than cars. They can do some serious damage to a car in a collision. A train hitting a car is just like a car running over a soda can, with you inside it. Never try to beat a train or drive around lowered gates. The results will not be pretty. The only thing an engineer can do if they see a vehicle or person on the track is sound the horn and pull the emergency brake.
But that's a good thing.
It's good, but do you know the average stopping distance of a freight train traveling at 55 miles an hour?
The average stopping distance of a train traveling 55 miles per hour would take more than 5,000 feet to stop. A passenger car will need about 200 feet to stop. Freight trains weigh over 6,000 tons, and traveling at 55 miles per hour can take a mile or more. That's 18 football fields. Trains can stop, but they can't stop quickly.
That was word for word what's in the book.
Thank you.
Because trains can be so big and fast, it's important to know never to go on or near the tracks at any time. Do you know how far away you should stay from the railroad tracks?
You should be at least 15 feet away from the train tracks so you don't get injured when a train passes by.
And walking on the tracks or the area surrounding them is illegal. It's trespassing.
Can we do the light rail now?
Do it.
In some places, there may also be light rail trains all over. Drivers have to share the road with light rail trains. Their tracks can be embedded directly in the streets. You should always obey traffic signals when you're driving. This is never more true than when you drive around light rail. Jessica, do you know the rule when turning left over light rail tracks?
You can only turn left on a green light in normal traffic, so I would assume it's the same when driving over light rail tracks.
Correct. Making a last-second turn as a light is turning red or once the light has changed to red can lead to a collision with an oncoming train that could be coming from behind you.
And as a final point, when you're driving near the light rail train and it stops, people will pour out across the street, often running to catch other trains.
People are often distracted, not paying attention to the cars around them.
As a driver near light rail stops and stations, you must pay extra special attention to the pedestrian to avoid hitting someone who is not paying attention. As a pedestrian, it's important to only cross tracks at a designated crossing. This was actually kind of fun.
I'm your brother, Jess. You should never feel like you can't ask for help.
I didn't really ask for your help.
Well, family doesn't need to be asked. Family knows. I noticed you stopped using the fake audience during the show, Tommy.
I found it distracting.
Well, you've picked Ryan's brain. Like, share, subscribe below, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.